The dream catchers. So, very simple concept. I've noticed in dating nowadays, recently I've had a situation where I was dating someone, and I noticed that there's uh, a a lot of times you have a situation where someone will say they're trying to get to know you, or it's assumed that when you're dating someone that the point of it is to get to know a person, but many times there's kind of a underlying it's kind of an underlying game, and for a lot of people, they don't really know that when they're going into the situation, it's kind of more than just getting to know someone. um, Many times the person on the other end is trying to determine what they can get out of you is what is going on, and it's kind of I don't know, it can catch you off guard. But I wanted to talk about several different ways that you can counteract this subterfuge or this Machiavellian game. So, one of the ways is to demonstrate supreme confidence. Now, when a person is trying to discard you or find reasons to leave you, or they're trying to play a game, demonstrating supreme confidence is it just comes to mind that that's something you can utilize. The second thing is to appear and disappear. So the longer you have with a person who is trying to play a silly game, the more time they have to obfuscate and uh, evade the situation. So whenever you're dealing with people who want to play silly games, or just maybe they don't even know they're playing the silly games, they're just interacting how they think is correct. Um, you can like, for example, if you go out on a date and let's say 5 minutes in, 8 minutes, even 20, 15, 20 minutes in, and you recognize that the person is asking more and more questions and things like that. When it comes to women, the more they know about you, the worse it is. So, really, I think you should try to obfuscate and not answer as much as possible, or just be funny with your answers. Um, but then by the time it's time to leave, just simply leave. Um, like, you actually have to plan that in your head that you're going to leave at a specific time. Now, sometimes you don't have to do that, depending on the interest level of the person. And I mean, I'm intuitive with it, so I just kind of feel it out. But, other times when you can feel um, that the person is perhaps they're trying really hard to discard you, find reasons to see an issue with you, just simply leave the situation. Um, and I wouldn't even. I guess you could try to set up a second date, but I've learned that in the modern day, dating is kind of. It, here's my thoughts, like, especially with the whole idea of paying for someone. Well, you know, I won't go into that on this video because it's kind of off topic to a degree. Dream catchers. So the reason why I came up with that name for the video is that when you're going out on a date with a person, um, often you'll find that the person has an image of what they think you are. And while you're talking to them and interacting with them, you're either breaking that image down or you're building it up. And you need to pay attention to that, because if you want to interact with this person, if you want to go home with them, or you want to do something else or have another date and things like that, you're going to have to keep an air of mystery. Um, Otherwise, you're you're gonna break the dream, and once you break the dream, then they're no longer gonna be interested in you. In the modern day, people are interested in the image they have of you rather than you um, maybe this has always been a thing, but you have to be aware that they're not trying to get to know you in every case. Not everyone is trying to get to know you. They're trying to get to know the image of what they perceive you as. Their attraction for you is an attraction for you, yes, on some level, but part of that is in how they perceive you to be. They don't want to perceive exactly what you are. So you have to be aware of that and you have to protect that image if you want to go further with that person. I don't know. Um, yeah. So another method. So just to go over the methods. So supreme confidence, um, knowing when to get out. You always have to know when to pull out of a situation before you go into it. So think of dating as a business deal. And before you go into the business deal, you prepare and you show up and you have a plan. You have a plan to leave, kind of like the movie Heat. Never get into a situation that you can't walk away from in 30 seconds or less if you start to feel the heat around the corner. It's really a good rule. Um, there's a book, I think, called The Art of the Deal. I think that would also be good for for especially guys to read because it kind of goes into some of the dynamics that are going on underneath the table whenever you're dating and whenever you're interacting with the opposite sex, especially, but just people in general. Uh, yeah, dream catchers are everywhere. Sometimes we find ourselves wanting to find a dream. Sometimes we are around people that they want to find a dream and we don't realize it. And we end up thinking, I guess our ego makes us think that they're interested in us specifically, but we don't realize that there's multiple levels and layers and that we have to navigate things in a certain way, especially if a person is being very secretive and using subterfuge and they're not, you know, and that's so common nowadays. So, kind of what you have to do to counteract that is to come to the situation. Uh, on the surface, you look like you're not alert, like you're just kind of going with the motions. But underneath that, you are you have an eject button, so to speak. You don't want to stay long, and you recognize that it's a game. When you recognize it's a game, it makes it easier because then you don't really have to take it serious and you don't have to take the other person serious. This is just my thoughts on the matter. Modern dating has become broken in a lot of ways. Um, like for example, guys going out on dates and uh, paying paying the way for the woman. That is kind of played out in a way because when you think about it, that was done on the basis that that guy would be courting that woman through multiple different dates in order to lead up to a relationship. That's why it doesn't make sense for a guy to pay for a woman in general on a date nowadays. One, because she has money herself, right? And two, there is no guarantee that you're gonna see that person again. On the date that I went out with, I paid. I think I paid for me, and I paid for her. But then after I did it, I ended up regretting it because I got ghosted. And it was one of those situations where things just didn't completely work out. It wasn't exactly how I wanted it to have gone. There were a lot of disruptions. There was on my side, there were times where I was just kind of caught off guard and I wasn't paying kind of things fell apart. And unfortunately, the things falling apart in a dating situation is largely on part. The woman can simply just move on to another guy. And oftentimes they'll have 3 or 4 different guys that they're talking to. So when they're dating you, they are um, when they're dating you, they're just looking for reasons to screen you out, and it's nature. If you have so many different options, you're gonna look for a reason to screen one out because you want to focus on one particular option. So I would say if you don't want to be the one that gets screened out, one of the things you can do is limit the amount of time that you are dealing with the person. And when you need to leave, leave. And it's okay. You can give them a reason. You cannot give them a reason, but don't stay too long because the longer you stay, the more chances you have to mess up. And that's something, think of it like a poker match. Um, yes, I know being genuine with a person is good and things like that. But I've learned in the dating market, no one really cares about genuine people for the most part. They want what they want, and if they can't get it, they simply discard. So, as sad as it is, you kind of just have to move. You kind of just have to move on, and you have to treat things with that kind of situation again like a business deal. Um, so let me see. So to recap again, supreme confidence, um, humor is good. Also, not staying too long. You can overstay your welcome with someone who is trying to get rid of you or someone who is enamored with you and they, maybe they're love bombing, maybe they just really like you and they have this image build up of who you are. With those kind of people, you can't stay too long. There was a woman I was dating in the past, and I remember talking to her, and after a while, she was like, "Wait a minute, you're a dork, right?" Like straight up. So like, it kind of showed me that the image that she had of who I was before we went out on the date was of this person who was whatever she thought in her mind. And so I went on the date not realizing that I was supposed to live up to this thing that she created. And the only way to do that would have been to limit my time and to do all these other things. And I'm not saying that you have to be fake, but this is just literally like if you want to get the box, right? Is what I'm saying and why I'm saying this. Um, if you want to get the box, you have to play the game. If you want to meet real people, then just keep being who you are. The dating game is very cutthroat, and oftentimes people will smile in your face and they'll ghost you. And you really can't do anything about it. There's really no point in trying to get them to be decent people because once they ghost you, they're already showing you who they are. So you trying to get some sort of closure or trying to, you trying to go further and be like, hey, you should have been nice or something like that. It just makes you're giving them more energy than they deserve. It doesn't help. Um, so with this video, one of the things I want to help people, in particular guys, to understand is that um, you kind of have to know that whenever you're dating or just interacting with people on certain levels, it becomes sort of a business deal, and you have to be willing to leave that deal if you start to see something that's not working out for you. It's that simple. The dream catchers.